Hi there. Have you been confused by all the information that is available about nutrition? Have you ever thought to yourself, I want to be healthy, but I don't know how in this crazy world? If so, you're in the right place to learn everything you need to know about how you can be your healthiest self by improving your digestion. We'll learn how to make the easiest and healthiest sourdough bread to the truth about yeast and sugar. Join me each week and we'll talk about everything from junk food to your protein needs. We will even dive into some unspoken topics like, what is my bowel movement trying to tell me? Or how can my emotions possibly affect my digestion? For more information on how to be your healthiest self, visit us on healthyselfwithfood.com, where we provide resources including recipes, cooking classes, and coaching appointments. I believe to completely take care of your whole self, that it includes what you put on your body. So I'm very happy to introduce you to our amazing sponsor, Gervine Family Farms, where you can find the best smelling soaps and healing body products on the market. Gervine Family Farms is the home of all natural, real soap and body products that truly heal your skin. Do you regret washing your hands because after you do, your skin is dry and irritated? If so, try the healthiest soap on earth. It is made from coconut oil, essential oil for the smell, and herbs or spices for the soap color. All the ingredients are so healthy for your skin that you could eat them, but please don't eat the soap. It doesn't taste good. There are no fillers, synthetic dyes, fragrances, or low-quality oils. Real soap doesn't strip your skin of all your body's natural oils, thus requiring you to use lotion so that your skin doesn't completely dry out. Save money on lotion by using real soap, and you will never be able to go back to your fake beauty bars that you call soap. Find us at GervineFamilyFarms.com. That is GURVINE FamilyFarms.com. My name is Kaisa. I've always been intrigued about being my healthiest self, even from a very young age. I have been continually studying and testing out all sorts of health options throughout my life. I'm thrilled to be a certified health, life, spiritual, and soul purpose coach, and for the last 10 years, I have enjoyed working as a nutritional counselor in a naturopathic doctor's office. As a nutritional counselor, I guide patients through protocols for their particular health ailment prescribed by their doctor. I also have almost 30 years of experience in making healing food for my 6 children, husband, and friends. This doesn't mean that my food always turned out or tasted good, but they sure were good sports as I learned many tricks and tips that I now can share with you in your food journey. I recently discovered Ayurveda, and I am currently studying to become a digestive specialist. Ayurveda is the knowledge of life. The basic principle of Ayurveda is to prevent and treat illness by maintaining balance in the body. Let's dive into today's topic.
Hi, today's topic is water. Water is one of the 6 nutrients our body needs to survive. So it's a pretty important topic. So we're going to jump into what water is, how much we should drink, and what it's all about. So how much water should you drink? It depends on your unique body size. The amount of water your body requires will vary greatly. A good rule of thumb to follow is to drink half of your body weight in fluid ounces. So, for example, if your body weight is 150 pounds, then you need to drink approximately 75 ounces of water per day. I often talk to people about really listening to your body, and if you're thirsty or can get into a good habit for drinking, this is the best way of making sure that you're getting enough water rather than feeling like you have to meet a specific number. Everybody's body is going to be different, even in the requirement. So, the example of just drinking half of your body weight in fluid ounces is just a guideline. So, we don't want to get stuck in thinking we have to drink that amount or else, or if we drink that amount and we don't feel, amazing, maybe we still need more. So, it's just a guideline. The amount of water you'll drink depends on your level of activity and how much you sweat. If you drink caffeine or alcohol on a daily basis, both caffeine and alcohol are dehydrating. So you need to be sure to go one for one as far as water and how much other drinking you're doing. And then the temperature where you live. If you have super hot summers, you're going to require more water. So that's why the amount of water does vary per person. There's always something different going on in your life. But you can tell that you're drinking enough water when your urine is on the light side. If your urine is dark and there's not much of it, then you're likely not drinking enough water. If your urine is abundant, you have to empty your bladder about every 2 or 3 hours. So if you're going constantly to the bathroom, you could be drinking too much water. So if it's more frequent than every 2 to 3 hours. And when you first start to increase your water consumption, you will need to go to the bathroom more often than you're used to, but that will only last a few days and then the body will adjust. So sometimes people don't like to drink water. They say they don't like the taste of water. So if that is true, maybe there's some things you can do to try to make your water taste better. Some people have tried adding slices of lemon, lime, cucumber, or orange to the water. You can add mint leaves. You can even heat up your water and drink it with lemon. And so sometimes our each one of us is different as far as like how we like water. Some people like their water really cold and some people don't. And so that's important to listen to your body that way too. Typically, water at room temperature is the best for your body as far as it not constricting any of your digestive tract, any of your arteries or stomach, any of that type of thing. The water's going in at the right temperature. But there are people that run hot in their digestive tract. Their skin, is warm. They're warm blooded more than others, and so they're going to crave cold water, and so that's okay. But if you don't like the taste of water, definitely try some different things to help yourself be able to consume water because it is so important for your body. We are made up of such a high percentage of water, and water does so many amazing things for our body, besides it being one of the main 6 nutrients that we need to survive. It is the most important thing that you cannot go without your body suffering. So I think there's some statistics about how long you can go without eating and how long you can go without water, and the water one is shorter. It's just that much more important. Also, water is the pathway that detoxes toxins out of our body, and so it is the carrier for those toxins. So it's very important in many processes in our body as well. So I have some advice for everyone. If there was one thing I could tell you about water, the most important thing you can do is to drink up to about 20 ounces, which is about 1 to 2 glasses, depending on how big your cup is, of water first thing in the morning. And this would be room temperature water. It could be water right out of the tap if that's how you're drinking your water, but not chilled or ice cubes. So just room temperature, whatever that means to you, because you've been asleep for 6 to 10 hours. And so it's time to hydrate. Your body is ready for liquids. And this routine can even replace morning coffee, as rehydrating the body and brain will lead to clearer thinking and better energy. So in other words, by drinking this water first thing in the morning and making it a habit, it could, if you are a person that does drink coffee to kind of get your day going because of the energy that it gives you, you might find that this water will do the same thing for you. Also, drinking a good amount of water first thing in the morning also helps your body be prepared for elimination in the morning. And I know that's another topic that we'll get into a different day, but I just want you to understand how important water is. We've been sleeping all night. It's time to rehydrate. And that drinking of a good amount of water first thing triggers the body to say, oh, we're awake and it's time. And so if you can get your body into a really regular, um, schedule of being ready to eliminate the meals that you had eaten the day before, this is a really great way of keeping your body on a healthy cycle. So if you're currently having trouble or just don't tend to eliminate first thing in the morning, this may be something that could help you in that process. Another idea to try to get to the right amount of water that you want to drink is to keep a pitcher of filtered water. It could be in the fridge, it could be on the counter, it could be near your workspace, it could be, wherever you spend the most time. But it can contain the amount of water that you want to drink each day. So once you've decided what you want that to be, remember, it doesn't have to be an arbitrary number, but you really need to get to a place where you understand how much water your body needs. But for some people, if they have it in the pitcher in the amount that they know that they want to drink, this makes it easy to remember to drink water and to track how much you've drank. Drink 8 ounces before you exercise because you're going to be using extra water. Sip water slowly and at intervals during exercise. And you can also keep bottles, everywhere around the house or at work or in your car, different places where, as you see it, you say, "Oh yeah, I should drink some water." So sometimes that works for people. These are just different ideas of ways to encourage yourself to drink the water. Then often people ask, how do I know how to choose the healthiest kinds of water? And we know that filtering water improves the taste and smell of water. And it's often because it's reducing the chlorine, which is added to kill harmful bacteria in like our tap water. And some filters can also reduce other contaminants such as lead, benzene, MTBE, chloramines, and PCBs. So those are all abbreviations of different chemicals that you do not want to be ingesting. And there are many types of water filters as well as many types of water filtering technologies. So now we're going to talk about finding the best type of water filter or technology, and it depends on the amount of space you can afford to clear out for it, your budget, and the specific water contaminants in your area. So I'm going to go through some of the top filters and ways that you can decide which one is the best fit for your needs. So there's one called reverse osmosis, and this process pushes water through a semi-permeable membrane that blocks particles larger than water molecules. And reverse osmosis can remove many contaminants that have not been removed by activated carbon, including arsenic, fluoride, hexavalent, chromium, nitrates, and percolates, as well as some parasites. Activated carbon is charcoal that has been treated with oxygen to open up pores between the carbon atoms, which increases the surface area of the carbon, allowing it to absorb and trap contaminants. When the pores become full, the filtering stops and the carbon filter needs to be replaced. Activated carbon cannot effectively remove common pollutants such as arsenic, fluoride, hexavalent, chromium, nitrate, and percolate. Generally, carbon filters come in two forms: carbon block and granulated activated carbon. The former appears to be more effective. Carbon filters remove fewer contaminants than reverse osmosis filters, but are less expensive and use less energy and water. So these are two different kinds. We got reverse osmosis, which is usually the type of system that's going to take up a lot more room, like under your sink or wherever it is in your house, but hooked up to the water. And activated carbon can be in a filter that, we're going to talk about the different kinds, but like there could be pitchers or there could be the kinds that go onto your faucet and that type of thing. But they also have them in disposable filters, whether it's like in a water bottle or a pitcher. And like they said, they're more inexpensive and they don't take up as many resources except for the carbon themselves. And carbon is a natural resource. So those are some of the options. Now we're going to talk about the different types of filters. So the first one is a pitcher or large dispenser, and these are typically fitted with an activated carbon filter that can remove contaminants and improve taste and odor. Many can reduce chlorine, lead, and mercury contamination. These types of filters are easy to use and they don't require installation and can be stored in the refrigerator. From the information that I pulled on specific filters and things, the top pick from the research was Clear 20 water filtration pitcher. There's many out there, but that's just an FYI. Then the next type is a faucet mounted filter, and you attach this directly to the end of the faucet with an on off switch on this particular filter. And the faucet mounted units can be convenient for households that drink more filtered water than a pitcher can hold. And these styles typically use an activated carbon filter that you can remove contaminants and improve taste and odor. And many can reduce chlorine, lead, and mercury contamination, just like the other filters in the pitchers. And a top pick also from this particular research was a Colligan faucet filter, FM-15A. Again, there's many out there, and they're all gonna work. Then there's countertop filters, and these typically sit on the counter, hence their name, with a line connecting directly to the faucet. A diverter valve allows you to switch between filtered and unfiltered water, and you can collect the filtered water from an extra spout or faucet on the filter unit. And models use a range of technologies, including activated carbon and reverse osmosis, so you can have the choice between the two. And effectiveness varies widely between models, but many on-counter filters will reduce a wide array of contaminants. And again, the top pick for this one is an Aqua Serra HCS countertop filter and a Sierra Mix filter. Next, you have your under sink filters, and these are mounted underneath the kitchen sink where they're fitted into the water supply line. And some models have a separate spout or faucet for water collection, and models use a range of technologies, including activated carbon to reverse osmosis. Effectiveness also varies widely between models, but many under sink filters will reduce a wide array of contaminants. And usually, when you're buying any of these types of things at a big box store that does the home stuff, that you can look on the box and do some research and see what kinds of things the filter reduces. And these are ideal for both filtering drinking and cooking water. And the top pick for this is a Whirlpool reverse osmosis filtration system. And so again, back to looking at the box or the product, you'll be able to tell based on their information what it filters out. And so something that would be really good to do would be to test your water if you're really concerned about it. Like if you're in a city or something like that, and you aren't quite sure what's in your water, you can do tests on the water, whether you call in someone to actually come and test it, or you buy your own like pH strips, or there's lots of different ways that you can do this. But then you can figure out what contaminants are in the water that you want to filter out. And that might help you choose the best filter for what you're trying to remove. So now we're going to move on to bottled water choices, because often this is how we get a lot of our water, is by buying water. And so bottled water is easy and convenient, but there are many different kinds of water. So we're going to talk a little bit about the difference in all these, because I know it can be confusing, and it's just nice to have the information and the knowledge about it. So we're going to get informed about where your water comes from. And as many companies have been found guilty of filling their brands with regular tap water to increase their profit margins, we want to make sure to do the research and go for the brands that we trust. The first type of water that comes in a bottle is mineral water. And this water comes from a mineral spring that contains various minerals, including salt and sulfur compounds. And, an important thing about water is that it is a mineral carrier. We want it to have minerals in it, because then that gives those minerals to our body. And we will talk in a different podcast about the 6 minerals, or nutrients as it is. And minerals are one of the nutrients that our body needs, and what those are. And so an example of this type of bottled mineral water is an Evian. And in any of the bottled waters, they should say one of these titles. So it'll either say mineral water, or the next category is artesian water, or it'll say spring water or purified water. And so now you'll know the differences between these. The next one is artesian water, and this groundwater is confined under pressure between layers of underground rock called a confined aquifer. And artesian water rises to the top of the aquifer when a well taps that confined aquifer. And an example of artesian bottled water is something like Fiji. So I'm sure you've seen those bottles of water, and this type is an artesian water. The next one is spring water. This water is derived from underground formation from which water flows naturally to the Earth's surface. It must be collected at the spring or underground through a borehole feeding the spring. And an example of that is Arrowhead Mountain spring water. And it has it right in the name, spring water. The next type of water is purified water. So, water production by distillation, deionization, or reverse osmosis. And so, an example of that type of bottled water is an Aquafina brand. So, those are a lot of good examples of the types of bottled water that you will see at the store. None I'm not saying one is better than the other. It was really just information on where the water comes from. And because of the process of where that water comes from, they inherently have different qualities to them or different minerals. And usually you can see those on the label. It should tell you what's actually in the water. Another question that comes up is how much water kids should drink. And we know that water makes up more than half of children's body weight and is needed to keep all parts of the body functioning properly. But there's no specific amount of water that's recommended for children, but it's a good idea to give them water throughout the day, not just when they're thirsty. So you've probably heard that wives tell that, when you're thirsty, then you're already, it's already too late. You're already dehydrated. But it's never too late, because if you're thirsty, you should definitely be drinking water to rehydrate yourself. But with kids, they lose track of time. They get distracted, or they don't even realize. So just reminding them about water and offering it and having it available is a really great way for them to stay hydrated. And babies generally don't need water during the first year of life. They're generally drinking milk in some form and therefore getting their water through that. So they don't need to be drinking water as well. And if your child doesn't like the taste of water, add a bit of lemon lime for flavor, kind of like we talked about earlier. And fruits and veggies are also good sources of water. So that's a good thing to remember for children. And kids should drink more water when they're ill, or when it's hot out, or when they're engaged in physical activity. So a lot of these things seem like common sense, but they're just good reminders for us. So I think we all know that we need to drink water and that it's good for us. I think often people get stuck in getting out of habit of doing it, or maybe getting hooked on other things. There can be many other things that many of us can drink. Soda, energy drinks, juices, coffee. The list goes on and on. And often something that I hear from patients or clients would be, well, that I count that stuff as water. And the problem is that there's not always enough water in there, and a good source of water, that we're not necessarily giving our bodies what we need. So it's really important to make sure that we're drinking water. So even if you are drinking other things throughout your day, balance it out with drinking water as well. And the best rule of thumbs is to drink your water in between meals, so not with your meals. You really shouldn't be drinking any sort of liquid with your meal. And obviously it's okay to drink a little bit, but the habit with restaurants and the way that we serve drinks with food, it's very habitual for us to reach for that and to be drinking a lot of water. And so often that's where a lot of people say, oh yeah, I drink plenty of water. And then when asked when they drink it, it's with their meals. And so now they're just watering down their food rather than them really giving their body that dose of water that it needs to do all the processes that it needs. And especially drinking a lot of it after dinner, not necessarily super close to bedtime, if that affects, how you sleep and how you urinate through the night. But having that water in us so that our body can do the detox process while we're sleeping, because water is the carrier of all detoxing. And our body does this naturally. I'm not talking about doing a program or you hear that as a buzzword, doing detoxes, but your body naturally detoxes the things in your body that it doesn't need through the pathway of water. But if you're not a big drinker, after dinner for whatever reason, maybe you forget or you're just, not interested, Making sure that we're drinking that water in the morning, like we talked about, is a great way to get the day started and to rehydrate. So we know that water helps us with detoxing. It binds with the toxins and carries them out of us. We know that it's important to be urinating every 2 to 3 hours, and that's a good indicator if we're drinking enough water or liquids throughout the day. Um, and then we also know that we don't necessarily all enjoy the taste of water, so there's different ways to encourage ourselves to drink the water. Another recommendation is making sure that we're getting enough electrolytes in our day, and so there are electrolyte packets that can be added to water, and so this is a good way of, and I'm not saying to do it in a way to flavor your water, but it can serve as that purpose as well. And electrolytes are different minerals that our body needs, like calcium and phosphate and sodium. And these minerals have a little bit of taste. Think about sodium, which is the same thing as like table salt. It is salty tasting. It's a mineral, and it's a mineral that your body needs. And if you're exercising or doing things where the electrolytes are leaving your body, and you don't have to be exercising super hard for your body to still need electrolytes every day. And those electrolytes are helping your body get those minerals that it needs. And again, we will talk about this more in the podcast that is on the nutrients for our body. And so you'll learn more about why we need those minerals and what it's doing to our bodies, how we're not getting enough in our lives, and how it's affecting us. So another really great recommendation or idea I have for you when it comes to water is the idea of something like herbal tea. Now, there's going to be a whole nother podcast on this, just talking about the different kinds of herbal tea. And I recommend, if you are flinching or you just don't even like the idea, you don't even want to consider it, that you listen to this podcast, because the next one about herbal tea, because I really want to educate you on what this can do for your body. But I hear so often, I don't like the taste of herbal tea. And I get that sometimes people have tried one, maybe two, maybe it's been more, but they just haven't had a good experience with it. I do not want you to dismiss this as an opportunity for your body to absorb so many vitamins and minerals that you cannot get from other plants or other sources as you can from an herb. And all that an herb is it's a plant that grows for that specific reason. In our day and time, we've gotten away from herbs being a useful part of our lives in our families. Often we now refer to them as weeds, and almost every weed is an herb. It's just we don't know how to use them anymore. And so a really easy way to get these herbs into our body is through drinking an herbal tea. So many of them taste really good, sweetened, of course. A lot of them taste good even not sweetened, but definitely they can be sweetened, and we'll talk about that in the herbal tea podcast. But then there are some that are bitter or don't necessarily have the greatest taste, but they are still a super effective herb. And again, we will go into more detail about that, especially for those that want to heal and learn more about how that can help them. Because we as a society have gotten away from using herbs, we don't have those as a family tradition like they used to. So basically, my recommendation is that if two reasons for herbal tea. One would be you don't like the taste of water. There's so many people that will say that. And so this is a great way to get water into your body, because it is a full cup of water. You are steeping it, with the tea bag or the loose tea, to flavor it, if you will. And so now you're getting the benefit of the tea that has fused with the water, but you're also getting a lot of the water. It can be drank warm or cold. So you can let it, sit and turn to room temperature, sweeten it while it's warm. Again, we'll talk about those sweeteners later, and drink it throughout your day. This is a great replacement for soda or energy drinks or water, and you're getting a double benefit. And so you could fill up, huge water bottle, take it to work with you, whatever you got to do with your cold tea, and drink it throughout the day. So this is a great way to satisfy yourself with getting enough of the liquid water that you need, but having it be flavored in some way. So that's enough of my soapbox about herbal teas. Like I said, I'm really excited to go into more detail with that in a future podcast. But I wanted to mention that as a really great way to still get enough water in your day. And remember the importance of water. It is so important for our body, and we underestimate the power it has to keep our bodies balanced and to keep our bodies healthy. And if there was nothing else that anyone did but drank this tall glass of room temperature water first thing in the morning, it is like free medicine. It will do your body wonders. And then the next step would be to make sure that you're getting even more water throughout the day, not just that one glass in the morning, but that's a great place to start. And then be incorporating drinking this water in between meals, not big tall glasses of it with meals, but in between meals. And so you can turn it into a habit. And the habit is, I've eaten my meal, it's been about 30 minutes, and your mouth, especially if you've eaten out, this happens often where I get really thirsty, and I know why it's happening. So it encourages me even more to drink. But there's things about the food that you might eat at a restaurant, because you don't always know all the ingredients in the food, that is actually taking or absorbing the water that you already have in your body into the food, not only to digest it and process it, which that's fine, that's a natural part of that process, but sometimes it can be excessive. So sometimes things like MSG or stuff like that could be in your food, you can tell that that's happened by how thirsty you are after you've eaten. But nonetheless, just listen to your body if that happens. Drink in between meals. And so even if you're eating at home and you're not having that same effect where you're like ravenously thirsty after a meal, still get in the habit of at least 30 minutes after, all the way up until you're going to, eat your next meal, be drinking water. And you can just be sipping it. I'm not talking about gulping it, and no certain amount, but just be aware this is a great time to hydrate your body, to be paying attention to how much you're urinating in between your meals, and to really keep your body. We're going to go into this into a future digestive podcast, and we'll talk all about the digestive process, but water is so important in that process. You need water to pull out the nutrients out of the food that you've eaten that's now being digested through your small intestine. And then when it's in your large intestine, which is your colon area, it really needs the water, or that's when you get the dry stools and the constipation and the different things that we'll talk about, the signs and symptoms of what that's telling us, and what we need. And often water is the answer. Water is the answer to helping our body be truly balanced. So there's one more thing I wanted to make sure that we touch on, and that is, if there's anything that you are adding to your water, that we're very careful that we're not adding sugar. So there are products out there, whether it's electrolyte type packets or powder that you can add to your water, or other like flavored type, flavor your water type stuff. The biggest thing you want to be careful about is making sure that it doesn't have added sugars. Now, sweeteners are different than sugar itself. So if something had stevia in it, that would be okay, because it's not raising your blood sugar the way that sugar would be. And there's a whole podcast on sugar, so it kind of talks about how all of that works. But we just don't want to get stuck in the trap of wanting to flavor our water and therefore doing ourselves a disservice by now ingesting way more sugar than we are aware of or that we intended. The other part of this water conversation is the pH of water. Now, we don't have time to go into all of that, but if you're someone that understands what pH is, ideally water would be the pH of 7, which would be neutral. But unfortunately, with the processes that water goes through, whether it's being bottled or just going through the tap lines and toxins and chemicals and things that can get into the water, it changes the pH of water. And we really want to be ingesting a neutral 7 water or higher. And higher makes it so that it's not acidic. Because if you are ingesting water that is under the 7 of pH, you are actually ingesting not acid but acidic water. And there's a lot of acidic foods that we eat as well that we're probably not even hardly aware of. So, without going into too much detail about pH, it's very easy to test. You can buy pH litmus paper testers, really inexpensive online. And so it's something you can always test if you're curious. You can figure out what the pH of the water is that's coming out of your tap or anything that you filtered or a bottled water. Now, a lot of bottled waters should list the pH of their water on the bottle. And there are a lot of bottled waters that are sold that are called pH water or alkaline water. And so that they are advertising that they are higher in pH. So whether it's because they've added some minerals that have helped the water to be a higher pH, there's nothing wrong with that. It's great. You don't have to feel like you have to buy a higher pH water. There are other things you can do to be aware of your pH, but it is a great thing that you can do to make sure that you're not drinking accidentally acidic water. So I know that's just touching on it really lightly. You may have more questions about that, and it's something that I'm always interested in talking more about. And so maybe we can do a whole one on pH. But I just don't want people to get too overwhelmed with worrying about it, but just understanding that water is supposed to be neutral, and that really helps our body to not be acidic. And that way that sometimes we're choosing foods that are going to be acidic just because that's just what they are. And then there's other things that are more alkaline. And so the idea is to be consuming enough alkaline foods that we keep our body in balance, because we don't want to be acidic, or that does change our pH of our blood and our water in us, and it can and you'll feel it. And again, we can go into more detail on that in the future, but I just wanted to touch on being careful about the things that we add to our water to have flavors, that it doesn't have added sugar. There's ways that we can have things sweetened, whether it be with honey or maple syrup or stevia, or things that are more of a natural source that help our body rather than hurt it, and that the pH of our water is important. So just so you know, now that we're done talking about pH, I do have some resources on my website, which is healthyselfwithfood.com. And there's a pH list. So if that's something you're interested in, you can go on there and pull that off and refer to it so you can see where different foods fall. And also, we always list the resources from each podcast on the website as well. So there is information on there about water specifically. And then any of the other podcasts you listen to, there will also be documents listed for you to refer to either while you're listening to it or afterwards, to either remember what you learned or to have more information to review and look at later. So that's just an FYI. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope that you learned something new about water. And if not something new, that maybe you were reminded about how important it is. It's a simple treasure gift that we have. Often when I hear about things about water being, contaminated or different things happening to it, it does make me really sad, because I know how important water is, not only to, the life of animals and other things, but obviously to us as humans. Water is so important. And so keeping our water clean is important, but just remembering to take care of ourselves, remembering to drink enough, remembering to be grateful for our water. Obviously, we have many things to be grateful for, but if nothing else, if you send that gratitude that you have to that water before you drink it, it's a positive vibration that can only uplift the water and therefore uplift yourself. That's also another future podcast talking about gratitude and different things like that. But I am so grateful to those of you that are listening, to those of you that are supporting this podcast, and those of you that are interested in learning, because it will only help yourself and your family be able to uplift yourselves and be able to take care of yourselves in ways that you have all the information you need. So I wish you all the best in your health, and I look forward to talking to you again in the future and in a future podcast. Take care.
To be your healthiest self, join me each week as we talk about a new topic that can help you, your family, and your loved ones in your life to be your healthiest self.